the past few months, I've been taking this action camera everywhere with me on my travels. Currently in Vietnam, and I took this as my travel companion to vlog, to document and capture moments. This is the Insta360 Go Ultra, and in this video, I'm going to discuss what I like about this camera and what I don't like about this camera as someone who uses this camera as a way to capture life everywhere I go. So now that we got that out of the way, let's just get started with what I do like. So the first thing I really like about this camera is the build quality and the design of this camera. So if you guys are familiar with Insta360 products, so you see that this camera has the same structure as something like the Ace Pro 2 or the Ace Pro 1. At the back, you have the rear screen, but you can also flip it upwards. So you can also vlog with it. And this is what normally what people would do. They just bring it out like this, and then they record themselves and they can monitor themselves from up here. So it's a really great feature to have. And it's also shaped like the Ace Pro 2. When you see this kind of design, you'll immediately recognize that, oh yeah, this has similarities to the Ace Pro and the Ace Pro 2. Now, I have to mention the color. I got the white version, but I do find that this version, it can get dirty real quick. Within 2 weeks of using this, I was starting to get like, black marks all over it. So if you're someone that doesn't like this, I suggest you guys go for like the black version. What I like about this camera is you can actually remove the camera because it's two pieces. You have the camera, and then we also have the action pod, or the charging pod is what they're calling it. So now you have two pieces right here. You can see here, there's magnets on the back of it, and then uh, the camera right here, it also has magnets on the back. So when you put it together, it just snaps back into place, which is pretty cool. And these are really strong magnets. And what I like about this camera is when you remove the camera from the charging pod, you can actually view the footage as you're recording. So let's say I turn this on, I press record. You can see you can see that it's playing the camera, and then afterwards I take it out, and now you can film elsewhere with it. You film the outside windows, you can see everything, you can see me like this. I think that's a really cool feature to have. So this is where the camera becomes a little bit more stealthy because it's out of its chunky form. With its action pod and the charging pod, whatever, it's like quite chunky right now. But once you take it out, and then you can actually press record. There's a little button right here. You don't notice that, but they're providing haptic feedback, so it lets me know that it's recording right now. So I use this often in the gym. So what I usually do is to set up my shot. I actually see if I'm in focus, if I'm in frame, and if the composition looks good. And because this camera is magnetic, you can actually stick it on any metal surfaces. It doesn't even have to be like stuck inside this charging pod. So what I have done before is I've stuck it on the squat rack. This makes this camera very versatile, and the only limitation is your own creativity. So I've stuck this on the fridge, ovens, and like the magnet is really, really strong. It does not move, which is really, really great. So I also have this pendant that you can buy in the Insta360 website. It's a magnetic necklace. So obviously you just put it here, tuck it underneath your shirt like so. You take the camera and then you plop it on, and it sticks like crazy. So it's stuck right here. Now this is on horizontal mode. If you want to switch it to vertical mode, all you gotta do is just twist it. And then now it's in vertical mode for your actual, if you ever need to do any short form content. This is pretty cool. I really like using this. I also use this method to actually go out and use it for like a POV camera for street photography here in Vietnam as well. My only gripe is that when you leave it recording for a very long time, the camera, it does actually heat up a lot. And being that I'm in Vietnam, especially Ho Chi Minh City, it's freaking hot out here. So I was sweating a lot more than usual, and I could feel the heat just in my chest area because of the camera heating up so much. Another thing that I like about this camera is the video footage. I think it looks great for what it is, and it is an action camera. So it does have an action camera kind of look. I don't understand how people are expecting something like this to look anything like a mirrorless camera, but it's not. So if you manage your expectations, I think it produces some great video footage. Now, I film everything in 4K 30, and for what I do with it, I think it looks great. Because this is only going on to my like social media and for my private viewing, I keep everything on standard profile and everything just on auto settings. I don't touch any manual settings on this. whatsoever. There's also other color profile pictures that you can take a look at if you are interested. There's some film simulations in here for you to look at. There's like the negative classic and the classic chrome style that they have here. The only gripe that I have about this camera is that its log footage is in 8-bit, if not 10-bit, like some of the competitors out there. So that is one thing that I wish was in this camera, just for the creators out there that want to match their action cameras footage to match with the rest of the other footage that they took on, different cameras, their center cameras or the mirrorless cameras and whatever. I also use this camera on standard stabilization, and I really like the stabilization they have in here. With the stabilization off, it does look really shaky and almost looks unusable. So it's best to keep it at low or even standard. There's also a high stabilization, but that's for like probably more action stuff. Where if you guys are like, jumping around a lot or like just, jumping off hills and all that. But for that, I do find that it crops in a little bit too much to keep the footage steady. You also have a horizon lock in this camera. And normally I don't use that because I think these are more for like, people that are jumping and doing flips or anything that requires your horizon level to tilt a little bit. So what this camera does is with that horizon lock on, it just keeps everything leveled so that even if you do flip, your footage doesn't flip with it, which is a really cool feature. Now, this camera can do up to 4K 60, but just be careful of it because it does get a little bit warm when you're running that for a long period of time. It can also film 120 frames at 2.7K, and it can do 240 frames at 1080p. Me personally, I don't do any slow motion action type shots, so these things don't really excite me, but it's there if you guys need it. Now, another thing I like about the Go Ultra is its pure video mode. If you guys don't know what it is, it's Insta360's low light feature. So long story short, it makes your low light footage visible. So it does some AI stuff in there. It just cleans up all the noises and just sharpens your image a little bit. I'm always using this whenever I'm at the gym, so I've been quite satisfied with the results that I'm getting. Again, it's not a miracle worker. You can't expect like amazing work on this. You can't take something that is almost pitch black and expect it to look good. There's only so much that this tiny camera with its tiny sensor can do. Now, another useful tool is the 2x clarity zoom feature. You can actually zoom in 2 times and it won't lose any details. And if I'm not mistaken, that's because they use an 8K sensor in this camera, and that's the same sensor that you find in the Ace Pro. But don't quote me on that. That's what I believe it is. This camera also has a ton more features that I really haven't tested because it doesn't really pertain to what I do. But you can also do like time lapse, time shift, loop recording, slow motion, star lapse, burst photos, and interval photos, and so much more. I also forgot that this camera can take photos. It can take 50 megapixel photos for anyone that is interested. Now, another thing that I really like about this camera is its battery life. I feel like this can last for a very long time. Like I was out shooting and roaming the city in Ho Chi Minh, and I got about 1 hour of 4K 30p footage before the battery died, and before I said like, fuck this, it's way too hot in this country for me to actually go out like this anymore. But again, once you put the camera back into the action pod or the base of it, you can actually extend your record time because now it has extra juice because of the action pod. There are also some accessories you can use to make the Go Ultra better. Obviously, there's the necklace here. There's also the tripod right here with its quick release adapter. That is also magnetic as well. It latches onto the camera and it stays there. And what I like about it is tripod extends a little bit high. I use this in the gym a lot so I can get video footage for my lifts just for form check and as well as to share my social media. And I find that this tripod is very clutch in this situation. Okay, let's talk about some things that I don't like. So whenever I use this camera with the necklace, I actually take the camera out and put it on the necklace. I actually have to put this somewhere. And, when I'm roaming the city, obviously the natural thing is to put it in your pocket. Now, because of that, once I put it in my pockets, somehow the 2x clarity gets activated. So whenever I was filming, unbeknownst to me, my footage are actually zoomed in by 2 times. So that is a little bit annoying because when I go back and review the footage, I'm just like, oh, I don't remember it looking like this. So why is it like this? And I just realized it's because whatever reason, whenever I put it in, the 2 times clarity zoom gets activated. So this is something you should be mindful of. All right. Another thing is that there is no internal storage. So you see competitors like DJI giving people internal storage in their action cameras now, and that just seems to be a miss on Insta360 part for not giving one. However, that being said, they do have their own SD cards for sale, and that works well with the cameras. Now, another thing that I'm really not a fan of is the back screen being too exposed. So again, whenever I'm traveling, I'm not really careful with my equipment. I just toss it around. I'm really not to say reckless, but it's like I'm not careful. I'm not careful. So again, I would toss this in my bag with other things in there, and the back screen would just be exposed like this. So I wish there was a way for Insta360 perhaps, make the screen flip out this way. I do feel exposed with the screen like this all the time. So just something to be mindful of again. So all I want out of this was something that was small and pocketable and that has good video quality. And I think this camera delivers on that. There are times where I honestly don't like using my phone to film content. With my phone, I take random photos here and there, and I also screenshot stuff. And if I were to film my clips, it would just be lost in the sea of clutters and knickknacks. With this camera, I know everything I film will be inside that camera. It won't get lost with the photos because I don't shoot photos with this camera. It's just the videos that I filmed when I'm traveling. I set everything to auto as well, and I'm not too worried about things like, the motion blur, the 180-degree shutter angle rule, or anything like that. I'm just using this to film everyday life with it. And that's where this camera shines. And I really like the image quality out of this camera. The 4K with its active HDR looks great in my opinion. And if I wanted something a little bit more stylized, obviously I can film stuff with my mirrorless camera and shoot log to grade it afterwards. But for something inconspicuous, for something like your vlogs, your social media content, I think this camera can do it all. I know some creators are actually filming their content with this camera, and they actually shared a few pointers with me with this camera. So I also like that once you take the camera out of the action pod, it's really small. So I really like wearing the magnetic pendant right here. I like filming my lifts on it. I also like how this camera is smaller and more compact than my phone. I can take the tripod and the camera and the pendant, and I don't need to bring anything else when I go out to like film, my eating, my food vlogs, my training. It takes away all any paralysis that I have with camera equipment. And again, because of its small form factor, it actually makes people less nervous, walking around in Vietnam and stuff like that. They're less nervous about an action camera than they are like a big mirrorless camera setup. So I do appreciate that. Before, I used to think that I have to film stuff with a mirrorless camera, but that becomes so tiring because the setup becomes much bigger. You need a bigger lens, a bigger tripod, a bigger backpack to take with you. And if I'm just going to the gym, I don't want to be lugging around all that just for like 30 to 60 seconds of footage. So the Insta360 Go Ultra is one of those tools where I can set it and forget about it, and I am happy with the footage that I've been getting out of this camera. I think this camera is great for any vloggers out there, any type of vlogging, travel, food, lifestyle, social media content creators. I think this camera is great for any of those type of people. Now, if you're looking for something, just small and something that is easily to set up, I highly recommend you guys check out the Insta360 Go Ultra. This camera costs around $459, but the price also varies depending on what bundle you choose to get it with. So if you are interested, I'll leave the links down in the description below. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this camera. Let me know in the comments below if you have it. Do you enjoy it? Do you like it? And if you like this video, consider subscribing for more content like this. And special thanks goes out to Insta360 for providing me with a unit for review. And that is it for me, guys. Thanks so much.